Hey everybody, Josh here. Just wanted to post a real quick update on the hives. It is towards the third week of November here in Kentucky. It's about currently 46, 47 degrees outside. We've had a pretty cold stretch this past week where it got down into the, I would say, the upper teens into the 20s at night. Fairly cold for Kentucky. You know, we don't really have brutal winters here. Technically, winter hasn't even started yet. It starts December 21st. But for November, it got fairly chilly. So I was going to go ahead and just shoot a real quick video and kind of show you a real quick update on a few of the hives and just see how they're doing. Obviously, I'm not going to open them. It's still way too cold for that, and there's really not a reason to. But I was going to check on the sugar bricks and see how much the bees have taken, if taken any at all. So I thought I'd go ahead and take you along for the ride and just see how they're doing. See how the Vivaldi board's holding up. Okay, so I'll go ahead and pull this back for you. So you can see the girls in there. This is not wet at all. This is completely dry. And you can see that they've already started taking the inner part of the sugar brick here. Now, whether they're actually using it or not, there's no way of knowing. However, you know, with this being an emergency food, they're able to take this if they need it. I know for a fact, because I checked on this hive, that they had plenty of food stores in here. Quite a bit of stored sugar syrup that I fed really heavy this past month, and then also quite a bit of honey. So they may or may not actually be consuming this sugar brick. However, as you can tell, they've clearly removed about, I don't know, a third of it, I would say. But you can see the girls in there moving around, so they appear to be doing pretty good. And that's all I really check on. I just want to see if there's, you know, still good signs of life. The girls are moving in there, that they haven't completely consumed all their food storage. If they had, I would consider putting more in there. But it looks like they've taken down just about a third of it, so they still have plenty left. The burlap is doing its job. There's no moisture in here whatsoever. There's good ventilation through the front and the back of these Vivaldi boards. So we had those, you know, it's pretty chilly days with a lot of wind, and that wind blows right through here and evaporates any moisture that comes up here from the bee's breath. Now, when there's more moisture and when the food is gone in there, sometimes I'll open these hives and I'll see some water droplets right here, just right above the inner hole on the Vivaldi board where their breath comes up and collects here on this Reflectix material. Again, it's going through the burlap. The burlap is kind of wicking the moisture out. And then as the temperatures get colder, it gets drier. There's no humidity in the air. It's really dry. And all of that moisture inside that burlap escapes either through these front holes here or the actual front entrance on this Vivaldi board. Like I was saying, moisture can escape out there. The bees are keeping plenty warm. That much is clear. They're doing good. So this hive looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead and seal it back up. And we'll go ahead and pop one or two more and just see what we have. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this next one here. And one thing to note for the newer beekeepers, I saw some questions in the Facebook groups that you'll see some dead bees at the front entrance of your hives. That's perfectly normal this time of year. You have to keep in mind that there's always going to be a small amount or an amount of bees that die inside the hive. Now, during the springtime and the summertime, when the hive is very active and all the foragers are going in and out of the hive, you know, there's bees inside the hive whose tasks are to clean up and take care of any dead bees. So any bees that may die inside, if you watch a hive closely, which, you know, sometimes I'll just come out here and just kind of watch the front entrance, because you can learn and tell a lot about your hives by just taking the time, by just watching the activity at the entrance. Truly, it's really cool. You will see some bees carrying dead bees in and out of the hive. And so if a bee were to die inside, you'll see a bee drag her out and she will take off flying. Now, obviously, you know, a bee carrying another bee is pretty heavy, so her flight path is pretty kind of slow and sluggish, and you can watch her fairly easily, unlike the bees that are zipping in and out. But you will see her carry that bee, oh, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 feet out from the hive out here into my field, and then drop her and leave her, the dead bee, and then obviously come back. So what you're seeing at the entrance here, if you're seeing some dead bees down here and there's dead bees in front of the other hives, that's just where it's too cold right now. The cluster doesn't really want to break, so the bees that have the task of carrying the dead bees out of the hive, they just kind of push them out the front door and leave them here on the front deck. So that's all that is. If you see, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 dead bees on the front, that's not an indication that you have a problem. That's actually an indication that the hive is doing what it's supposed to be doing, and it's just doing some house cleaning. So let's go ahead and pull up the burlap on this one and see what we have inside. So I see a small hive beetle right here, butthead. Okay, so I see a bee right here, and there's that hive beetle. So I get to crush a hive beetle. That's always fun. And so this hive is looking good. So you can see right here, they've already burrowed a hole through this sugar brick and taken it down about right here. Now, obviously not as much as that previous one, so this hive just may not have needed the sugar brick nearly that much. One thing that I learned recently from Jake, who's in our Oldham County Beekeepers Association, and he's a EAS Master Certified Beekeeper, he was saying that the bees' tongues are more like a feather. They're actually very delicate, which I did not know that. That was very interesting. And these sugar bricks are kind of hard on a bee's tongue. And so, you know, the nectar and the liquid obviously is better than these hard sugar bricks for the bees, but, you know, in an emergency situation, it's still better to have the food there than have no food and have your hive starve. Now, this may be a little bit of an overkill for me right now, especially when I know that these hives are full of honey and full of sugar syrup. They may not need this extra food, but my philosophy was, it's here if they need it. If they don't, they're not going to take it in. You know, Jake was saying, yeah, that may be true, but it's not always the case where it's good to supply sugar brick regardless. So, you know, like I said in comments, you know, I'm not a pro. I'm still learning things every single day. And, you know, when folks that have been doing this a lot longer than me are master certified, you know, I listen. So I find it interesting, though, that their tongues are actually very, very delicate. I did not know that. I was asking if maybe it's better to provide fondant instead of the sugar bricks, if the fondant is a little softer material for the bees to break down. And then I also asked what the downside was, because obviously all the bees that are in here right now are your fat bees, these bees that are going to last for, you know, several months through the wintertime. And those are going to be your first foragers in the springtime that come out of the hive. So there's the chance that it could negatively impact their ability to forage fresh nectar in the springtime if they damage their tongue on the sugar brick. But I don't know. You know, that queen first thing in the spring, she's churning and burning bees out. So I would hope or think that there's enough foragers that it's not going to be a significant negative impact to the hive. I personally have not witnessed that, but it is, you know, something to note. I find that stuff interesting. You know, like I said, I'm always learning. So I just didn't know that their tongues were that delicate. So anyway, this hive looks to be doing good. They've taken down a little bit of that sugar brick, but I can just tell, just looking down in there with the bees moving, that there's activity. So this hive is doing good. So we're gonna go ahead and seal it back up. I'm probably gonna go check out a few more hives here. I like to spot check just to see how they're doing on their storage. But you know, we had that about a week of cold weather here, so just wanted to kind of see how they're doing. and see how much food they've taken down, if any. And then I just kind of keep mental notes on these hives, and I'll check on them periodically every couple weeks, or if we have a, you know, a cold snap or anything, just to kind of see how they're doing. But yeah, that's really it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.